Hey guys, it's Neon Nezzy, back again with another Destiny6 video. Today we're just answering two questions, and I would suggest if anybody have any of these kind of questions for me to make a video on, please go and ask me because I really just love helping the community out. First one's from Lin Yong-hun, who basically asked me a few videos ago to make a video on orbs to assess what the maximum percentage for the values on the orbs are. If that sentence I just said made any sense, I'm assuming he is talking about 4-star orbs, and that's the only orb that we are going to be concerned about in today's video. And then, just because it goes with his question, I'm going to talk about substats, how I view orbs, how I deem a orb fit, and how I deem it fit to be sold. And then I'll also talk a bit on maximizing substats, or maximizing substat utility, if you will, on your units. So first of all, let's get into it. So from my experience, slots 1, 2, and 3, or slots 1, 2, and 4, no, slots 1, 2, and 3, yeah, slots 1, 2, and 3 have the same roles. So what this means is that you guys can either get a HP, defense, or attack role of the main stat that either starts off, and it's going to be the lowest that you can get is a 10%, and the highest that you can get is going to be, if I can find one over here, it's going to be 11.5%. So that goes for slots 1, 2, and 3. HP, attack, and defense, you guys can get a worst roll of 10% and a maximum roll of 11.5%. When you guys get the 11.5%, it will go up all the way to a 16% at level 15 enhancement. If you guys get a 10%, it will go up to basically a 14.5 at level 15 enhancement. Now, slot 4 is a bit different. You get crit rate over here. The best that you can get, now I don't have one at the moment, but the best that you can get is a 8.5 critical rate, which will go all the way up to 13%. The worst that you guys can get is a 7%, which will go up to like 13 minus 1.5. That's basically 11.5%. Yep. That's what you guys can get. Now, if you guys are concerned about what roles you guys can get as you guys are enhancing your units, your orbs, because you guys can get substats at 3, 6, 9, and 12. So basically, if you guys have questions on that, just go to your substat, change substat, and here is basically what you can get, the highest and the minimum. So HP, for example, you guys can get a flat of either 49 or a maximum of 396. Crit rate, you guys can get 1%. That's all you guys can get. Skill cooldown reduction, you guys can get a 1 or a 3. And at level 15, all of these stats, or one of these stats in random, will then be doubled. So you guys could get a maximum roll of HP of 396 times 2. How much is that? Asian math, 792. I think that's 792 that you can get a maximum of. For defense or HP percentage, you guys could get a maximum of 6. Crit rate, you guys can get a maximum of 2. You guys get my point. I hope that is all the time we're going to have to spend on that. So second of all, as a mid-ish, I don't know. Like, I want to call myself late game because I can auto everything in the game, but at the same time, I'm scared because I feel like I don't have enough experience in it. But fine. But basically, as a mid-game player, okay, I'm going to tell you guys how I am now viewing orbs and how I am basically building my units. One thing that I always look for in an orb is an innate stat. Now, you guys might be wondering, what is that? Well, over here, guys, if you guys count the main stat, which is the 15.1 HP percent, you guys have 5 stats. 15.1% HP, 2% defense, 3% HP, 4% crit damage, 2% attack. You guys can actually get 6 stats. For example, this orb right here that I got, which is absolutely amazing. It has a crit damage. I just got this orb last night. Now, you guys might be wondering, Nezzy, aren't flat stats always better? Yes, they are, but I have come up with a system to kind of just make it's kind of a system to just say, I don't care if it's flat or not, and it depends on the unit type, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can already guess what it is. Again, everything that I'm telling you guys right now is my opinion, meaning that this is Nazi's opinion, a human's opinion, meaning that it can be wrong, okay? It might not be the best way or the most efficient way, but this is how I've been doing things, this is how I've been looking at things, how I've been assessing my orbs, and I think it's pretty legit. But again, if I'm doing something wrong, please go ahead and let me know, and I will correct myself in the future videos. The reason why I wait for an innate stat is because that is one stat. It's just a bonus. Like, you either get it or you don't. And once you guys get a orb that has no, if I can find a plus 15 somewhere. Do I have a plus 15 somewhere that has no innate stat? Basically what I'm trying to say is that even when you guys get a orb with no innate stat to level 15, you're not going to get an innate stat. You either have it or you don't. Now, if you were going on a trip somewhere, wouldn't, like, all you need, right? All you need is your phone, water, some clothes. You guys get my point, but wouldn't you just like to have something extra? Like, it doesn't cost you anything, but you just have it with you. Like, I don't know, Jesus Christ, I can't think of an example. It's the worst example in history. There's no example. But you guys get my point. Like, it costs you nothing, and you either have it or you don't. Now, RNG sucks at this because you guys might get a 10% defense orb with, like, 3% skill cooldown. Now, would you use it? It depends. Is that orb going onto a Jun or onto a Elky? Now, if it was an Elky, defense isn't important, so go ahead, use that innate 3% cooldown. If it's a Jun, defense is pretty darn important. That 1.5% that you could potentially get might really, really come in handy some point in the future, at which point I would say don't use it for the Jun. You guys, I know for sure, have the intelligence and the common sense, so I know you guys get my point. Now, moving on to getting the perfect orb. In my opinion, the perfect orb is almost impossible to find, but out of the 5 stats you guys can get, now I'm not counting right here, I'm not counting the main stat, okay? The main HP stat here, the 2114, I'm not counting that. I'm counting the 4 substats and the 1 innate stat, so that's 5 substats in total that I'm talking about right now. Out of those 5, I think that it's pretty realistic to get 4 of them just right. For example, I'm looking for a orb to go onto my Benito. My Benito is a attack-based nuker. What does he need? Well, for one, for nuke, he needs critical rate. That's the most important. Then he needs attack. Then he needs crit damage. Then he needs possibly skill cooldown reduction. Just a nice little icing on the top. Now, when I said attack on my second point, I meant either percentage or flat. Percentage is always better because it's going to give you a better yield. 1% attack could be so much more. Like, just 1% attack can give you so much more attack than a flat stat attack could give you. So right here, when I got this rune, or this orb, I saw HP flat stat and I saw critical damage. So I thought, now hold on a second. Do I really want to sell this? Because, true, this cannot go onto a HP-based nuker, such as Paper Cur, or let's see if I was trying to build a Scissor Elky nuker, or a, Rock Francisca. They all based off HP. And of course, they all have a high base HP. So 10% of Cur's HP is going to be substantially more than Benito's 10% HP. So I thought about it for a second. I was like, you know what? What does Benito get from HP? He could have all the HP in the world. What does that make him? A really tanky Benito? Where would that even come in handy? Which is why I thought, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to enhance it. Now, generally, I enhance, because I have a substantial amount of gold, I enhance the orbs that I want to give a shot or want them to have a chance. The orbs that I want to give a chance, I take them all the way to level 12. People that don't have gold or can't farm Nightmare yet, I would suggest just take them to level 9. If out of the 3 stats that you guys get, 2 of them are worthwhile, keep the orb. If 2 2 or more are not worthwhile, then just discard the orb. For example, here I took it to 9. And then I basically got, what did I get? I got buff duration, attack 31, and that attack 6% was initially 2% defense, and then it was a skill cooldown reduction of 2%. I thought, hold on a second now. There are 5 stats that I could get here. 3 of which, critical damage, attack flat stat, and skill cooldown reduction, are very, very useful for my Benito. What could be useful here? Well, if I could just take that debuff duration or that 2% defense, which turned into a 4% defense at level 15, if I could get one or the other into either crit rate, attack, or crit damage, and the attack either flat or percentage, preferably percentage, of course, then this orb would be absolutely worth it. And that is exactly what I did. Took it to level 15, defense rolled into a double. So I went up there, and again, I think people are always trying to get skill cooldown reduction onto their units, which is fine for units like Adonis, but on other units, I would say it's not the most important thing. For example, here, when I went into the substat, I clicked on the defense, which is now attack, and I basically said to myself, I don't need 6% attack. I will take whichever one of these substats I can get first. There are 15 substats here. If you guys can just think about 5, I feel like every unit out there, you guys can think of either 4 or 5 substats that you could live with, that could actually benefit your unit. For example here, 5 substats that I could want or get were either skill cooldown reduction, attack flat, attack percentage, crit rate, crit damage. Now, of course, every time you guys get, let's say, skill cooldown reduction, you guys can either get 2, 4, or 6. With crit damage, you guys can get 4 or 8 or 10 or 12. So, of course, there is RNG based on that. But just, if you guys just have more options available to yourself, I think you guys will like the game more and this new substat reroll system more. Again, I still think they should cap out at 30% for PvP experiences, but I feel like I've said that enough that now everybody out there knows that that's what I am advocating for. So basically that's what I did, and I kept hitting the 100 change, and eventually within like 7 or 8 rerolls, what I got was a 6% attack. And that's fine. If I had gotten 2% crit rate or 12% crit damage, that's what I would have settled for. And now, again, let's look at this HP, okay? Granted, my orb right now is a 12. It's a plus 12. So this right here could potentially go up to, I don't know, 16,000. Right now it's 15,841. So, but my attack, I want it to be over 1,000, plus 1,000. So if I remove this, and I equip this, I could have had 16,100, let's say. I lose 400 HP. Okay? But now, I basically have about 90 more attack power, which is what is going to benefit my Benito. If you guys need to put a flat slot 2 attack orb on your Elky with just amazing substats and a perfectly viable innate stat, go for it. Elky does not need attack. If your Elky is not a crit Elky and it's based on vitality, you guys can just say screw it and put on like the lowest crit rate orb that you have on her slot 4. If, again, that orb has great 4 substats and 1 viable innate stat. So I hope I've made myself clear here. If people want more clarification, please go ahead and ask me questions, but I just don't want to spend any more time on this than I need to. Second question over here is going to take very, very less time. It is from, oh good lord, Pepeu Prague. I hope I didn't butcher that. And the first question, if I didn't say already, was from Lim Young Hun. So, second question is, hey Nazi, doing good? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. Could you make a video telling what is better to do with Dupes 5? This will help free to play and lazy to learn, pay to win people as well. So, I'm pay to progress. What does that make me? Does that make me lazy to learn? Thanks in advance. All right. So here's my philosophy, and again, this is my take on dupes. So I could be wrong. Okay, I could be wrong. I am human. I can make mistakes. But anytime you guys get a dupe, and it's a dupe of a natural fighter that you guys use a lot, like is a core part of your team. For example, if you guys have an Adonis, you're going to use him everywhere. Like I use my Adonis everywhere. So I would always use any dupes for Adonis that I have into his skill ups. And then if I were, let's say I got Kerr, which is again a great unit. There are some nat fights out there that are just must-haves, okay? Now I don't want to list them off because I didn't make a list in advance, so I could miss them off. But there are just some that are just meta, or like you know that they're never going to get worse unless they're given a very, very significant nerf. Like even after nerf, they're still viable. Unless the nerf is like really huge, like a really big nerf. So I would say anytime you guys get dupes, always use them for skill ups. Once you guys are done with the skill ups, go into, it's up to you guys. If you guys don't have the gold, that's just fodder. That is your 5-star fodder. All right, you guys need to make something a 6-star. That dupe is what you use for one of your 5 fodders needed. Otherwise, I would suggest you guys go into combine. And you guys go into the the shift. And you guys just pick 2 units. For example, I would want to do this. And I think it's never worth it to put in a 3rd unit. Now, basically what happens when you put a 3rd unit in is that it will not be that unit. So, for example, over here, if I say I didn't want, what's a unit that I could just sacrifice if I hit it by mistake? Ooh, let's say Yanuk. All right, so if I do this, then my resulting unit that I receive will not be a Carlota, will not be a Yanuk, will not be a Grunberg. If I do this, then it will be a 5-star, but it could be a Yanuk or it could be a Carlota. I think it's always viable to just do 2 and never do 3, because there's so many natural 5-stars in the game that even if you have 3 units there, there's still so many more units that you guys can get. Now, unless you guys are really, really early game and I've just gotten really, really lucky with dupes, I would think that it is almost never viable, especially if you're late game like me or mid game like me, because you guys will most probably always get a dupe unit. Of course, I got lucky once and I got Scissor Elky, but that's just like a 1 in 1,000 or like one in how many ever chance. So I hope that answers your question, Prague. So again, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions like these that could benefit the community as a whole, that could really help me just make some content on, please go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys have any questions, for example, how to auto hell mode or nightmare mode with the units you guys have, or any questions in general, let me know. I will use my experience and my expertise in the game, though they're very limited, to helping you guys out. And if you guys like my content, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. It helps keep me motivated. And until the next time, guys, Neon out.